Television.
The following program has been rated PG. Parental guidance is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of cases in the society of people murdering their spouses and their children? What about human beings throwing themselves off buildings? In our universities today, it's a den of crime. Students in drugs, students in habits like homosexuality, which also cuts across in our society today. What do you think? Is there anyone to blame? Do you think it's a major issue in our society? Welcome to the DIVULGE Show, a show whereby we unmask matters happening in the society, matters which the society shies away from speaking about. And this is a place where we'll journey with you, individual and largely in the society, to find the healing of the soul and the empowerment of the spirit. My name is Kesh Susan, and I will be your host every Tuesday from 9:30 to 11:30 here at Nisi Television, where we transform life through media. Welcome to the DIVULGE Show. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kesh Susan, and this is the DIVULGE Show here at Nisi Television. And I'm telling you, today we are learning and knowing more about depression. What is it that you didn't know or I didn't know about depression? Depression is a statement or a word that we hear frequently, almost from the day that we were born until, to the current age that we are. And actually, we found people speaking about it. We are still speaking about it. We leave people speaking about it. But do we really know what we're talking about? Yet it's something that is happening and so close in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, together with me, I have a very awesome person in the studio. His name is, should I really introduce him? Okay, he's a counselor by profession, and we're going to know more about him. His name is Daniel. Karibu sana, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you.
This is the DIVULGE Show. Na mimi nimesema wewe ni counselor, lakini unajua kuna ile mtu labda anauzanga chocolate na anataka kuingiza business hapo, na mimi nina insist you are a counselor. Look at this camera kindly and let us know more about you.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers. My name is Daniel Kariuki. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. I run an organization or a firm by the name of Desired Living. I also work in a corporate organization as a wellness counselor. And I'm here to talk about depression and stress, and I hope that we are all going to enjoy the show. Karibuni.
Amazing. So what do you think, friends? We'll learn and learn and learn more. I'm telling you, DIVULGE ni ile show lazima usikize na notebook. Niliambia tu wase wangu, you must learn this,
listen to this with a notebook and a pen. So we go straight to the discussion.
Thank you.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes.
tumesikia hii statement ya depression a lot of times. And mimi ukiuliza what depression is, if you ask someone else what depression is, they have a different notion, have a different understanding. Probably somewhere we meet and we just know it's something uncomfortable, probably related to the mind and emotions.
Okay.
But we may be wrong and partly we may be right. According to you as a profession, what is depression?
Depression is, in very simpler terms, I can say depression is a mood disorder.
Okay.
A mood disorder in the fact that it exhibits itself in form of moods. It exhibits itself in form of actions in terms of because it comes out in one, loss of interest of the things that possibly you previously felt like you love. People exhibit it in terms of lack of interest. Other people may exhibit it in terms of losing sleep, or what you can call insomnia, or excessive sleeping, losing appetite, being irritable. So in short, I'm trying to put it across as something that comes in form of moods.
Okay.
Or in simpler terms, how I can actually try to define depression is by saying that it is unchecked stress. Saying unchecked in the sense that when the body experiences stress, you realize that there is a certain level that now the body can no longer contain the level of stress. That is how it ends up generating into depression. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. And I really love what the kind of explanation that you're giving to us in Meeleweka.
Yes.
What are some of the causes of depression? Is it something that you can inherit? Is it something that just sparks for reasons environmental? Or is it something within, externally? Where do we find, or where do we find expression? How can someone get expression? What are the causes?
Depression is caused by a number of factors.
Okay.
One of them being experiences. And when you talk about experiences, you can be talking about a traumatic experience. A traumatic experience can lead to what we call a trauma attack, that leads to what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, which now can degenerate or mature into depression.
Okay.
That is in one case. We can have cases of abuse. We can have also cases of genes or genetics, which we are actually talking about an inheritance. So the lineage of a family whereby we are talking about, you might be more susceptible to getting depression or those mood disorders when you are within the family, or we have a lineage that is more prone to depression.
Okay.
You may also have depression maturing from cases of, previously I've mentioned about something called unchecked stress, whereby now it degenerates into maturity to become depression. Yes. Yes.
Amazing. And can I get, or can someone get depression based on drugs?
Yes.
The medical drugs that we're given in the hospitals and all that?
Yes.
How?
It depends. Drugs come in various forms. We can talk about the psychoactive drugs, the ones that you use prescribed by a doctor. A drug is a chemical composition. So basically what you're talking about is once the chemical composition gets into your body, it alters how your body functions. So however, I don't know, I cannot give a full closure in terms of how the drugs can affect. But yes, because they're coming into the body and they're affecting the functionality of the body. But in many cases, what we have on depression is when people are on substances and drugs. Like for instance, when you're talking about the negative drugs, the ones that maybe people going through pain, then they think of finding a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And then out of this mechanism, you find somebody getting used to taking drugs like maybe marijuana. You can talk about heroin and things like cocaine. You're talking also of substances like alcohol.
Yeah.
And it gets to a place of getting, your body gets to what we call, as you're trying to find a coping mechanism, it now leads into a state of depression because you are fighting internally.
Yeah.
You're trying to fight the reaction internally by introducing the drugs into your body.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. You've mentioned something about inheriting
Yes.
depression.
Yes.
And probably don't think that we've really understood that point.
Okay.
How do you inherit? Is it something in the DNA, whereby if I once went through depression, my child is prone to it, or how does that happen?
When you're talking about genetics, you're talking about the lineage. We usually talk about something of the origin,
Okay.
the family of origin, and how to break it down is by giving instances of whereby genes run within the family. So basically what we're trying to say is depression, of course, is curable.
Okay.
Depression is manageable. But there is more what we call susceptibility or what we call more exposure when your family is exposed to the what do you call them? The issues like depression. There is more in terms of inheriting genetics.
Okay.
Just the same way as, I'll actually allow me to give an example of drugs and substance. So there's something that we call a genetic predisposition. In terms of, you might take alcohol today
Okay.
as cash.
Yes.
And because you're not genetically predisposed, you will not be affected as somebody whose family has the genetic predisposition, whereby you're talking about having I think it should, like, should I give it more concentration?
Please do.
Yes, in terms of saying about the concentration,
Yeah.
I'm talking about being exposed to I'm looking for the right word, but I'm only trying to say being exposed to danger more than the other.
Okay.
So basically, when you're talking about genetics, we are talking about a gene being more disposed, being more exposed.
Okay.
Basically, that's what I'm trying to bring about. Yes.
Amazing. And what are some of the signs of someone going through depression? Because looking at you, you have this nice blue coat and white shirt.
Yes.
I can't really tell if you are depressed or not.
Yes.
But probably you looking at someone from afar, you can, maybe because you are trained in that, you can easily pick this person is depressed. Is it something that you can observe from the society angle, or I need a professional eye?
I would say yes and no. And why I say yes and no is because there are some symptoms and signs
Okay.
that you may not necessarily be able to pick with a naked eye. So basically, in terms of how you diagnose,
Okay.
one, for professionals, they are able to pick the signs. They are able to see the mannerisms. They are able also to categorize what we call the behavioral characteristics. One, in terms of behavior, one has the tendency of maybe losing interest in the things they previously used to love.
Yeah.
Allow me to use yourself as maybe you're the one who's hosting this show.
Yeah.
So basically, it gets to a place that you no longer feel the urge or the need to do what gives you passion.
Yes.
It gets to a place whereby you feel like you have no drive in terms of what should I do, as in you're just there. You no longer have the urge. You no longer have the desire to do whatever gives you happiness.
Yes.
Number two, it can be characterized by anger and irritability, whereby the slightest provocation can raise a whole commotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that also is very evident is when people tend to sleep either less or more. That is a sign, but it's not to say that anyone who sleeps more or less,
because actually I really wanted to
has a problem or has
I really
signs of
wanted to
depression.
confirm all that.
Yes, it also gets to a place whereby maybe somebody can get to irresponsibility in terms of one, using drugs,
Yes.
or maybe because they are also trying to look for what we call a coping mechanism or a coping strategy. And number two, it can also lead to what we call irresponsibilities in terms of sexual irresponsibility, whereby somebody can become an irresponsible person. Yes, they become loose and they can become reckless in whatever way.
Yeah.
So it is important to understand, but I would want to pick it out and say that it's not in all situations that people who are reckless or people who are irresponsible, whether in drinking or whether in using alcohol, in using drugs, or whether in being irresponsible sexually, it's not a sign of depression. Yes, people choose the kind of life they would want to lead, but those are some of the things that you'd want to pick. But the main thing on how psychologists and psychiatrists are able to pick the cases of depression is using what we call the psychologist's manual, or the Bible of the psychologist, which is called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which carries out all types of disorders, be it anxiety disorder, be it any type of disorder. So you are able to pick the symptoms and the signs.
Okay.
And out of that, you'll be able to pick and say, this is depression and this is stress. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. In addition to the causes, some of the signs that you've mentioned, can you tell us about food?
The kind of foods.
About food, the eating pattern of someone. I think you've mentioned about anger, the emotional side, the sleeping pattern.
Yes.
Tell us about the eating habits. How can I observe that someone has depression based on how they feed?
That's not enough to give you the diagnosis, but in many cases, you'll find people suffering from depression, maybe losing appetite.
All right.
Yeah. Others, you'll find them eating excessively. So in either of the situations, you cannot be able to exactly pick and see and say Daniel is suffering from depression because nowadays he's eating too much, or he's eating too little.
Yeah.
So, but there are other things that will manifest.
Yes.
In terms of, yes, one, you are eating little or too much. You seem very irritable. You look like you are actually becoming agitated by basically anything. Yeah. Right. You get to a place whereby maybe you are now losing interest in case you might even decide not to go to work, and the things that used to fascinate you are no longer fascinating you anymore. So possibly those are some of the things that you'll be able to pick among many other things. So it's not necessary for among the few that I've picked. There are quite a number of things that you'll be able to pick and identify.
Amazing.
Yes.
Then in our society today, I think we have a lot of pressure. I don't know if it's coming from the Western region, of the physical appearance of human beings, both genders, male and female. To the male, I think they mentioned about, tall, dark, and handsome. And to the female, it's, I think, light skin, and then flat tummy, and height. I don't think height is an issue. But someone who is not, to the gent, someone who is not tall. They kind of feel they don't fit in that specific terrain.
Yes.
And I've had actually cases of gentlemen, even ladies, who feel they are not important enough. Some actually were bullied because of their physical appearance. What can you say about that in terms of the place of the causes of depression?
What you've just picked is an important aspect in terms of how it plays out in the whole view of oneself.
Yeah.
The most important thing is for you to be able to understand what gives you value is first to appreciate yourself.
Yes.
Irrespective of whatever sphere, whatever place you are in, the most important thing is to first appreciate yourself.
Yes.
The moment you are able to appreciate yourself, you will be able to build your own esteem, right? You'll have your own self-worth. You'll have your own self-value.
Correct.
And no matter what the world will bring, because initially what we are doing is that we are living in an ever-changing world.
Yeah, sure.
Right now where we are is not where we were 10 years ago.
Correct.
So basically we are at a place that we are going to change every time. So what we are placing value today will have a different value tomorrow.
Very true.
I look
Very
back
true.
and some years back, people were so keen on, I don't know whether you remember those days when men were dressing in a pairs of trousers called Savco.
The big ones.
The jeans trousers, they were fancy, and everybody was saving towards buying a Savco trouser.
I met 50 cents.
Okay, fine. Yes, 50 cents.
Yeah.
Right now, if you meet somebody dressed in a 50 cents pair of trousers, you'll be like, from which world have you come from, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we are in a never-changing world. So if we are to appreciate the value of life, I believe it's first getting to understand what are my capabilities,
Yeah.
what value do I have for myself,
Yeah.
and what value do I add every day. So as you work with that, you cannot be easily swayed into believing in what the Western world will introduce.
Yes.
Because you have the little value for yourself, however little it is. So in dealing with depression, yes, there are cases of people, especially when you talk about the youths and the young generation. Many are getting a lot of what we call the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Basically, when you talk about peer pressure, we don't talk about pressure on the young people. Peer pressure can extend up to 90 or 100 years.
Yeah.
Basically, because you want to live a life whereby people will say something positive about you.
Correct.
So if you look at the kind of culture that we are in, people evaluate their achievements by what people will say about them.
Yeah.
The kind of vehicle I'm driving, the kind of house I'm living in, with very little care of how much am I digging deep to sustain my lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when you talk about cases of depression out of lifestyle, yes, they are there. But my advice or my take would be, the moment somebody is able to appreciate the little effort that they are making in their own life,
Yes.
they will basically be able to live happy. Yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, amazing. I'm telling you, what an intro. Continue to speak to us on our social media platforms. That is Nisi Television, Facebook Nisi Television, Instagram Nisi Television, YouTube, and even there is a WhatsApp number, going down the screen. Continue to speak to us. Have you ever been in a situation where you've gone through depression and that kind of thing? Let's converse on those platforms, and it will be of great blessings. Also, in case you have a question to our beloved guest, Mr. Daniel, matters what we're discussing, also talk to us on the platforms that we've already discussed, and I'm telling you, immediately it will be answered. Mr. Daniel.
Yes.
People are doing stuff. We have killings, the suicide, jumping off cliffs, and hanging themselves, and all that. And number one cause of this kind of stuff is depression.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Is it that we don't have people we can speak to in the society? From a counseling perspective,
Yes.
what can you say about someone that has gotten to a place that they decide? I had our and this is actually is with all courtesy. The latest news: a boy was reprimanded by the dad because of his results. So he decided he will not. The dad is just too much. I mean, if I cannot get an A, why does he want to push me to get the A? It's not like I'm not studying and all that. So he decided to cut this stuff. By the way, let me just end my life. From a counseling perspective,
Yes.
does it mean that we don't have people in the society that we can run to and tell them, hey, this is what I'm facing, this is my problem. Probably my, you know, the narcissist thing, my husband is beating me at night. I was raped 3 years ago. You know, the trauma thing that you've spoken about. And I build the matter up to an extent that I can take my own life or take someone else's life.
Okay.
Yes. What do you think from the counselor's perspective the problem is?
We are, as I had said earlier, is that we are living in an ever-changing world. And when we are living in this ever-changing world, we want to live according to our choices.
All right.
Right? By the fact that I have been brought up with values does not mean that the other person has been given the same values that are engraved in me.
Correct.
So, and these people will come out into a society that is open. You that has values,
yes,
and the other one that has no values, and they are expected to coexist.
Yeah.
So, what will happen is that there is a serious clash in terms of personalities, in terms of behavior, beliefs, and what we call values.
Yeah.
So, the question you are asking about whether there are no people in the society. The society has a lot of people,
including you, counselors,
including us, counselors. Yeah. You see, the greatest challenge that we have faced in the past is that the moment you tell someone that I'm walking into a counselor's office, one, there is a stereotype, right? Yeah. People see counseling as a taboo. Until COVID came, where now people realize that, wow, counseling is inevitable. Yeah. You don't necessarily need to go for counseling because you are dying. You don't necessarily need to seek the help of a counselor because you have an issue that is bothering you.
Yes.
There are areas that you might need counseling, and that's why you have career guidance. In high school, when we were selecting subjects, you would find students struggling with choosing the courses because one, they don't know what they are good at. At that place, you are supposed to introduce a career guidance to teach these children that if you are good in these subjects, then I think you can pursue your career along this line.
Yes.
So, but that never happened. Number two, where we are in life is that prior to even things like marriages, people don't visit counseling offices until when it gets to a place of they are just about to get married and they are about to possibly actually the person who does the counseling is the pastor, and you realize that I have grown up to the age that I am. Assume if you're getting married at the age of 30 as a woman, and the guy is 35 years, and possibly you have dated for like a year or two, it means that this man has lived his 28 years out of your reach. Or you don't know whatever has been happening, you don't know how he was brought up, you don't know whatever values, you don't know whatever kind of trauma that he's holding, you don't know the kind of life that this person has lived. Then you meet this woman who has lived for the entirety of her life, maybe say another 28 years or so.
Yes.
And you also don't know the journey to be where they are. So I've met you today, fallen in love with you, and now we want to get married. Then when we go to the pastor, how long do you take for the premarital counseling? Possibly 2 months before the wedding.
Yes.
And maybe after the wedding is done, you realize that very few people go back to continue the therapy.
Yes.
So you realize that you are living with a stranger. Okay?
Yes.
So at the onset of the living, now you have already now enjoined your husband or your wife in marriage.
Yes.
Now their true self starts manifesting. Okay?
Yes.
Because I keep saying that therapy, possibly something like premarital therapy, should be done at a stage whereby, have you identified the partner? Start therapy immediately. Because there are things that you learn about this person when you start living together that were concealed over the period of your living, of your dating.
Okay.
So you need to get to know, one, the kind of person that you're dating, the personalities.
Yes.
What are the things that trigger them? What triggers you to anger? Of course, we can never exhaust it. You'll always have something that can trigger you to anger from now till you are 90 years.
Yeah.
But no, there are those consequent things that you can be able to pick. If I tell Daniel this, He's easily irritable. So this is the kind of person to run away from.
Yeah.
Number three, we also get to love blindly. To the point whereby when we talk about love being blind, it's not about love being blind. It is us being blinded by the love.
Yeah.
And the reality is that you have so many red flags that you're seeing from this person, but you cannot be able to detach yourself from the person.
Yeah.
So now what happens? Now you've moved into marriage with this person, and now their true self now starts manifesting. One, there is a societal eye. I will not leave my marriage in the few months that I've just joined, or maybe a few years, because the people will say Daniel was not able to sustain his marriage. Number two, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And what does the Bible say? The Bible, it talks about God hates divorce.
Divorce, correct.
Right? The Bible also reminds us that till death do you part.
Correct.
Isn't it? So those are some of the things that are putting people in stressful situations, leading to depression in marriage.
Yeah.
Come down to situations like being in school. We have grown up until now, when we now have the CBC system that is now decluttering the mind of the kids. Whereby now kids are given an opportunity to learn what they are able to, as in they are able to build themselves from an early age.
Yes.
If you look at the Kenyan education system, the Kenyan education system has all along taught children in a similar direction, whereby you are being told for you to have a good life, you must pass in your exams.
Correct.
You must do so well in school. You must get a good job. And for you to live a happy life, there are those musts that have been engraved since we were young. So basically, kids have grown knowing that if I am gifted in the extracurricular activities, I am not as good as the person who is leading in class. So you'll find that has been repeated over the years. That is what you grew up believing. That is what I grew up believing. And so we are now getting to a place whereby now if you look at the CBC system, it's giving us a different notion of how we reward performance. There is no competition anymore. It's about individual abilities. So if we were in a place whereby we were able to identify individual abilities on each person, a student, the teachers would be able to groom them in a place that they would fit anywhere in the world, right? You'll hear somebody who scored a D+ in Kenya gets an opportunity to go to a place like the US, and in 5 years you hear they have already finished a degree in medicine. And then you ask yourself, that is a degree, a grade that would not even earn you a certificate in Kenya.
I think we hold that thought there. We'll be right back after the break.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of cases in the society of people murdering their spouses and their children? What about human beings throwing themselves off buildings? Universities today, it's a den of crime. Students in drugs, students in habits like homosexuality, which also cuts across in our society today. What do you think? Is there anyone to blame? Do you think it's a major issue in our society? Welcome to the DIVULGE Show, a show whereby we unmask matters happening in the society, matters which the society shies away from speaking about. And this is a place where we'll journey with you as an individual and largely in the society to find the healing of the soul and the empowerment of the spirit. My name is Kesh Susan, and I will be your host every Tuesday from 9:30 to 11:30 here at Nisi Television, where we transform life through media. Welcome to the DIVULGE Show.
Uwezo College is a premier business and technical training college based in Machakos County. All our courses are at professional level. Our exams are set by Kenya National Examination Council, NEC, and the National Industrial Training Authority, NITA. We offer the following courses:
electrical engineering,
plumbing,
cosmetology,
masonry and building,
social work,
and ICT. We also offer 3-month refresher courses.
We have qualified teachers who are up to the task.
To enroll today, call 0724 390322.
To enroll today, you can call 0724 390 322.
Uwezo College.
Uwezo College, beyond training.
Hello. Njĩtagwo Naomi Karanja, ngũcerete gũkũ kwa Fortune Gardens nĩ tondũ nĩ manyendeirie niĩ mũgũnda, ngũgĩrĩte taito yakwa, ndacoka ndakora mena mĩgũnda ĩngĩ kũrĩa Joska, Matu, Mala. Actually, ndarora mwena wakwa ndĩrona haha hena cukuru nene mũno, ndarora ngona bypass, ndarora ngona kũndũ gũkũ kwĩna nginya thitima, kwĩna nginya maĩ.
Fortune Gardens, jinuena plot, ni marakurehera plot cia 50 by 100, marakwenderia na thogora wa ciringi 159. Plot ici ciothe ciena ready title deeds, oro udumwe na discounts. Wagura plot mwena wa Joska Sunshine, Mala, ona kana Matu, uraheo iheo ta shopping vouchers, ona kana school fees vouchers cia next term.
Kwoguo ri tugacererwo mĩgũnda hot, mĩgũnda ĩrendio nĩ Fortune Gardens.
Mahũrĩre thimũ namba 0714 717777 kana 0727 779777. Ona ningĩ no macerere wabici-inĩ ciao mwena wa Rũai, nyũmba-inĩ ya Bena House, kũrigania na wabici cia Kenya Power gũkũ Nairobi. Fortune Gardens, jinuena plot, uinuke uangaze.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DIVULGE Show. Partly Facebook, I can see good engagement. We have Irene Awera Warui. She's saying that she's tuned in, ready to learn about depression. Karibu sana Irene. Tell us also where you're watching us from. We want to big up your location. Then we have Moha, the first name kidogo, the pronunciation. He's saying or she's saying that Moha is locked. Brosami Kabugi anasema present sana. These are a colleague. I think kama ni law angesema my learned friend, also a practicing lawyer. We have Gerald Lani anasema following up. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, even for tuning in, and help us also know where you're watching us from. We want to not just to big up, but big up your location. And straight to the continuation of our conversation. Earlier on, you mentioned something about stress. Actually, most of the time, I think we kind of confuse between stress and depression. What is the difference?
There's a big difference between stress and depression. Okay. Because as I mentioned earlier, is that depression is a mood disorder. Stress is a reaction to whatever you are dealing with. You might be feeling, I've heard people talk about being depressed. The sense they mean being stressed. Somebody will come and tell you, I feel so depressed, I'm about to sit down. But actually what they are feeling, they're telling you is that I am feeling the stress. So depression is more of a reaction. Stress is more of a feeling. That's the simplest terminology I can use for, because I believe that even whoever is watching, they don't want to hear a lot of jargon in terms of trying to explain this. And stress degenerates, grows, if not treated, or if you're not able to to heal over the stressful situations that you are dealing with, it gets to a place that you can get depression. It's not automatic to say that every stressful situation leads to depression, because stress goes through stages, whereby when you are dealing with stress, and possibly allow me first to give an explanation. Stress comes in two forms. There's a positive and the negative. And people use this terminology that stress is good, but they are not defining which type of stress is good. So when they're talking about stress is good, they're talking about the little stress to push you to doing something, which is positive stress. I'm actually giving an instance. Prior to the show, possibly you had some little stress of how will the show be. Will the machines fail us? Isn't it? Those are some of the things that you look into in terms of talking about the stress. So when you're talking about stress being good, we need to define what kind of stress we are talking about. Are we talking about the positive, or are we talking about the negative? Positive stress is the one that accelerates you to action. You want to achieve. So you always have that anxiety, small anxiety that exhibits itself in form of a stress, in terms of wanting you to achieve something good. The negative stress is the one that affects you in terms of your functionality. You might have some stomach upsets. Sometimes you feel your hands are a bit numbed, anxious in terms of you don't know, you are shaking, as in you're feeling a bit frail. So that means that is negative. The other word that we use for positive and the negative, we use eustress to define positive stress, and distress for negative stress. So in terms of defining what leads to depression, it's not the eustress, it's the distress. And this distress generates in phases, whereby you realize that there's something that is bothering you. There are so many things that can lead you to stress. One, you can be having an exam. Number two, you're hosting a show right now. Number three, I'm here being hosted. So I can also pick it in terms of whether positive or negative. So when you are dealing with the kind of the negative stress, people don't know how far it can go before it affects them. And in many situations, we found that people have always walked with the belief that whatever I'm feeling will just end with time, right? So as you're going through the phases, you're going through a phase of one, absorbing and trying to understand what you're dealing with. You've just lost your job, and then you're like, okay, where do I start? Then as you're thinking about where do you start, now the reality now starts sinking, whereby you are now bargaining with the reality. Had I not lost that job, maybe I had goals that I wanted to achieve, and now the reality sinks slowly to the point of now understanding, okay, I have lost my job, I have school fees to pay, I have house rent to pay, I have a list of activities. As it continues to generate, it gets to a place of now what we call exhaustion stage. So when it now exhausts you, it's the time now you realize, now people now get into what we call negative coping mechanisms, whereby somebody will now realize, okay, work is not working, work is not okay, and now what do? I don't know why people run into alcohol. Possibly maybe that will be a topic for another day at some point. But people tend to run to alcohol, people tend to run to drugs, which are actually negative coping strategies. And out of now the usage of those things, now it can now slowly degenerate into what we call depression. So it is important to understand that depression, as I had said earlier, is unchecked stress. I'm feeling pain, but I'm telling myself that I'm capable of holding into the pain. It gets to a place that now it starts affecting my normal functioning, and I'm still holding to the belief that I'm okay. I'm still holding to the belief that I'm in control. So basically what will happen is that When it gets to the place that it has now exhausted me, it will now jump over now from stress into what we call depression. But before now it gets that, also stress goes in phases. Whereby we can talk about the 3 types of stresses. One, you can have what we call the acute stress. Then it gets to what we call episodic stress. Yes. Then it gets to what we call the chronic. So the chronic stress, there are other definitions, or the other people will give it even more than three stages. But now what now slowly matures into depression is what we call the chronic stress. Yes.
What are some of the treatment of depression?
Or
do you know, they say, you just come on, you're an adult. So how do you treat from the counselor perspective? How do you treat depression?
Depression has a number of angles in the treatment. One is through counseling, the way you are saying it. But initially what happens, and possibly maybe just to take you back, is that many people do not first get to the counseling as a way of healing. People, when faced with depression, go to the psychiatrists. And then what happens, of course, a psychiatrist is a doctor who will actually check you and possibly tell you this is what we need to do. So there is a great fear in terms of first jumping the counseling session, what we call the psychotherapy, into what we call psychiatry, because what will happen is that you will at some point, if you are introduced to drugs, because drugs are part of the healing process, you can be given drugs as part of healing. So if drugs are introduced, these are chemical compositions that are being introduced into your body. So what will happen is that you are going to alter your functionality in a way. So what I usually tell people is that counseling, as in, should be before therapy, if you say before psychiatry. But you find in many cases it's usually the other way around. Right now I'm handling 2 cases of people who are first introduced to those psychoactive drugs. And the drugs are a bit strong in terms of whereby there is the fear of dependency in terms of confining you to the drugs permanently, or even if not permanently, you'll find those people will have to take a certain duration of time to wean themselves off from the drugs. So as we said, 1 is counseling, 2 is through drugs. There are also other ways that can also be used, like there's one that is a bit extensive in terms of it uses electrons, whereby we do what we call neurofeedback, whereby you are the therapy is through introduction of waves, whereby things are, what do they call them? I don't know whether you've ever done an ECG, the heart, the one that's done for the heart, whereby components are attached to the head, whereby they send shock waves onto the brain. But that one is supposed to be done for the extreme cases. But you see, there is no particular time that we can say that depression is good, because the moment you have gotten into a place of depression, your greatest desire is to come out of it. So the only fear for electromagnetic or the kind of what we call the neurotherapy feedback is there is one thing of the greatest challenge that we do is memory loss when it is done continuously. Yes, but I think if therapy, now what we are calling the psychotherapy, the counseling, and the talk therapy, if those ones are incorporated in the right way, then there is a great chance or greater possibility of healing. It's only that by the time people are getting to the place of seeking help for depression, in case one is feeling depressed, it has usually gone to a very high stage. Yes.
What can you say about self-treatment in terms of where people will feel a bit stressed or depressed based on how they're feeling and what they're going through. And someone will decide to Google a drug that is known for treating depression, and they will try to go over the counter and buy it. Actually, I think we have abuse of even, I put it as a small drug like Piriton. Someone will be like, you know what, I can't sleep because I have insomnia. So for me to find sleep, I will take 3 tablets of Piriton or Cetirizine and all that. What do you think are some of the dangers of self-treating when it comes to depression?
Google nowadays is called Dr. Google because you get anything on Google, which is actually wrong. As I mentioned earlier, there are some effects or there are some symptoms that might manifest themselves as if it's depression, yet it's not. There are things that we call, like, for instance, like panic attacks, right? There's things like anxiety attacks. So there is insomnia. Insomnia does not automatically translate to depression.
Correct.
So you'll possibly go and Google and see why possibly you're not sleeping, and automatically you feel in your mind that the reason I'm not sleeping is because I'm depressed. So what do? You Google and you see the drugs that are prescribed to cure or to help in maintaining people who are suffering from depression, and you introduce yourself to those drugs. And possibly what you do, the moment you introduce yourself to the drug, what next? That's a question people need to ask themselves. So it's always discouraged against self-prescriptions. Because not unless, actually, one thing that you need to understand is that what you call antidepressants or those depression drugs cannot actually be served over the counter. You must have a prescription for you to be given that, yes. But anyway, this, you know where we are and you know how things are done in where we live. So you'll go into those backstreet chemists and you'll get whatever you want without the right prescription. But for someone who is licensed, they are not supposed to give those drugs without a prescription from a license. So those are some of the challenges that we have. The other thing that I'm also about to say is that about the issue to do with the drugs, and possibly maybe like the way people go to, maybe you are having a challenge and you sleeping and you go and get Piriton, you're having Cetirizine and all those kinds of drugs. These drugs, and I keep repeating these, the moment you have introduced this chemical composition in your body, it comes in and alters something, however minimal it is. So basically, you will find yourself, you will soon develop what we call resistance to drugs. And the moment you you get the resistance to drugs, you will actually realize that for you now to sleep, you'll no longer be needing 1 Piriton. You'll be needing 2. And it will continue now growing until to the point you realize, okay, I'm at a place where by now my antennas are always up, whether it is at 3 a.m. or whether it's at 4 a.m. So what you do in such situations, because in many cases, these cases are not checked. It's out of the thinking of, okay, I'm not sleeping, so I have depression, I have insomnia, or I might be having something that is really bothering me. What you need to do is, many people do not actually know how to set sleeping schedules. Allow me to use now the issue of now, maybe for instance, people using Piriton to sleep. You might be going through something, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that whatever you are dealing with is so grievous. You have a tendency of getting to bed with your mobile phone. And right now, the era where you have TikTok, one video attracts the other. And so what will happen? You'll find yourself sitting up or possibly facing up, looking at that screen until morning. And then you go to a hospital and tell the doctor, I've not been sleeping. Reason, you have not allowed your mind to relax. So the moment you have actually put your mind on the phone, you are still telling your mind that I'm active. Keep being active. Keep being active. Keep being active. Yes. So there are many challenges that people are dealing with. One, people can begin to set sleeping patterns in terms of maybe saying, so from 10:30, I'm not going to be near my phone. To put it away to charge, and even if I get whatever, even if it's called 4 or 5 times, I'm not going to go to respond to it. That's a discipline. So lack of discipline is also affecting people in terms of how are they relating with their mobile phones. Yes.
I think we permit you to take a cup of tea, a glass of water, even as we continue to hear from our listeners and our viewers of what they have to say about the discussion on our social media platforms. I'm telling you, the communication is very, very awesome. Someone is actually confessing to matters, taking drugs so that they can be able to sleep and all that. I believe depression is something that seems as a taboo. There's a point that Mr. Daniel has spoken about, counseling being a taboo in the society. The stigmatization thing that, if I see a counselor, if I see a therapist, then there is something wrong with me. There is something wrong with my mind. I'm not man enough. I'm not woman enough. I cannot handle my own issues. What do you think about that? Because for me, what I think is it is absolutely wrong. Actually, for me, that is a sign of probably don't really, value me, and I don't really I don't care about me much, because if I really care about me much, then Mr. David, I will be very particular in seeking help. Mr. Daniel, sorry, I'll be very particular in seeking help, and I will not feel stigmatized walking in a counselor's room to seek help, simply because, I have this issue that I imagine, hii ni kidogo, hii nitasort. Nitakuwa very particular kufanya nini? Kusort, kuingia kwa ofisi ya counselor or therapist, and, handle it practically, have those sessions. I think earlier on you're telling me about the 5 sessions, the 10 sessions, yes. And I make sure that I'm done with them. So I like what you say. It is very wrong to be in discipline and then in depression.
Yes.
Just telling us about that.
Yes. So possibly maybe just to put back to what you are saying about at what point people seek therapy. People seek therapy when things have gone haywire. So we are at a place where by now we are really sensitizing.
Yes.
Actually, May is the month that we are in, is the mental health awareness month world over.
Yes.
And I believe many people actually do not know. So you post it somewhere on those social media and people are like, oh, I didn't even know. Yeah. But because it's not been brought to a place of acceptance to everyone to know that mental health should be given equal value as what we call physical health.
Yeah.
Right now, if you are facing, or possibly you're having a cold, you'll automatically go to a hospital.
Correct.
If you're having a headache, you'll basically take up the painkillers,
Yes.
possibly even after they've been, that is after prescription. You'll not just self-medicate.
Yeah.
If you're having a stomach upset, you will basically decide, oh, I need to have the problem checked. But what happens in a situation whereby you are dealing with mental clogging?
It's tricky.
You are at a place whereby you are like, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So right now we are resuming schools after the long holiday, and people are dealing with all manner of stresses, school fees, the new prices in foodstuffs, school uniforms, as in basically everything, including the fuel, has gone up. And once the fuel prices go up, actually it affects everything. So our incomes are what basically we were with last year. But now we are at a place that we still think, I'll manage. How will you manage? Yet the things that you are dealing with are actually enclosed in your mind. You asked me an earlier question of how do you tell a depressed person? You'll not be able to tell a depressed person just by possibly maybe looking at them physically. There are those that the behaviors will manifest because somebody might be somebody who is unkempt and not keeping themselves clean. Somebody walks as they talk to themselves. They are throwing hands up and down. Possibly you can tell this person is not okay. What of those people who have mastered the art of keeping to themselves? Those are the kind of people who actually walk and you see they are all but fine. The next minute they jump into the middle of the road and they are hit by a moving vehicle. And everybody is like, he was okay, he was fine. They didn't seem like they were having challenges. Yes, but you see, they have not come out clean and say, this is what I'm dealing with. Because according to the notion, it's that when you are seen walking into a counselor's room, people want to believe that you have a problem. Right?
Major problem than
a major problem
who has a cough walking
into a doctor's office. So one of the things, even where I work, I mentioned that I work in a corporate office. One of the areas that we are finding hard to understand is when people come and when they get to the reception, they have to say which office they are visiting, and the guards have to ask them, which office are you visiting? And they tell, 4th floor, I want to go to see Daniel, I want to go to see so and so. So somebody gets to the ground floor and they say, I'm going to 5th floor or I'm going to 4th floor, I want to see Daniel. And because the guards know who Daniel is, they are like, oh, you're going to see the counselor. People get agitated. They have actually communicated and told us, please talk to those guards and tell them never to mention that I'm to their client, to the clients who are coming to the institution, or whether you are going to see a counselor or not. Because according to them, going to see a counselor is shameful, right? Going to see a counselor means that something is really wrong about you.
You cannot manage your issues.
Yes, you cannot manage your issues. That's the point. So they will want to come and have actually walk in a hidden space, and they would actually even at times even check who is looking at them, and they are getting as they're getting into the offices. I'll give you an instance. I once had an office, and I thought that I will have walk-ins, just like you'd open up a business and people are coming in for consultancy and everything. I was shocked because I realized that, I did the branding, I did the furnitures, and then at the top of the door I did counseling services. I was shocked. I actually ended up closing that office because out of a period of about 3 months, other than the jobs that I was called outside or to go and do some talk somewhere, maybe some consultancy somewhere, I had very few people who did the walk-ins. And the many cases that I had were people who were brought in by other people. As a parent bringing their child who needs a letter to the school, which was a requirement, that this child has been suspended from school, but they've been given a 2-week break, and over the 2 weeks they need to do a counseling, a session or two, then they can take back to the school so that it may be approved by the board that the child has gone through what we call the counseling. And the other cases is people may be suffering from addiction. The people who just walk in and they're like, do you do substance and drug addiction counseling? Yes. So we have this and this person. How would you be able to help them? But people who just walk and they're like, okay, Daniel, I have or even something like, I have a decision that I want to make and I don't know how to handle it. Please help me as a counselor. None of them. And those people who are walking and telling you, I don't even know where to start. Right? So you at some point, okay, fine, if you have come to the counselor and you don't know where to start, it means that you have been holding a lot. So we shouldn't wait until we get to that place in terms of seeking counsel, in terms of seeking therapy. Let it just be like the way I go to hospital when I have a problem with my stomach, I've eaten food and possibly have some food poisoning, and I can just walk into any hospital and be checked, leave out with a prescription and go and take for 2 days or 3 days. If I have a cough, I can just walk into a clinic and I be prescribed a medicine. Others do self-prescription, going to a chemist and buying the medicine and walking out. Let's make counseling sessions as easy as that. Yes. So possibly just to add on that, it's all about how we were brought up. I'm a man, and basically you look at how men handle issues.
Yeah.
And there's something we call toxic masculinity. When you're talking about toxic masculinity, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's about men, right? There are female people in the female gender who are also suffering from that, whereby they are believing that whatever I'm dealing, whatever I'm handling, is within my control until now when it bursts out. So when it bursts out, now we'll come here and we'll talk about depression. Yeah.
Wow. How do you differentiate the place of personality and depression? We have some specific personalities like melancholies who are mostly low profile.
Yes.
And you can easily, think they are, they are depressed. Actually, I think that's one of the, when you go online, I don't know how true online information is, but they will say this personality will show some signs of depression.
Yeah.
So how do you tell this person, for example, someone who in a family setup loves withdrawing themselves because they just don't like the noise, and they don't like the whole interaction of loud people. And that's them. Yeah. From someone who, by then this person is depressed, and this person is a depressed melancholy. So how do you pick the difference?
Okay, as you've mentioned about personality, yes, personality plays in terms of how to handle stress, life events, and cases of things like depression, whereby the various types of personalities come with their strengths and weaknesses. Like what we've talked about being a male, meaning that is somebody who is a bit reserved, in terms of somebody who is more of they're not outgoing as akina sanguines, right? So these are kind of people who hold to whatever they are thinking. In many cases, if you read books, they talk about melancholians being thinkers, right? People who are articulate and people who are into details. Because what they do is that whatever they put their mind to, they put a lot of focus on it. When you talk about sanguines, you talk about jokers. Yeah, right? People who are ever bubbly. You'll pick a sanguine in a crowd, right? You go to class and one child is a male, the other one is a sanguine. You will notice that actually people will not notice when a melancholy is missing in class. Reason, they are at possibly for instance, someone like, allow me to use the sanguine. Sanguines, they will come into a room and everybody will feel, oh, Kesha mengia, isn't it? So if this person is depressed, you'll notice, hey, and Kesh today looks withdrawn, right? And you'll be able to monitor that for the first day, the second day, the third time, and you'll be like, okay, something is wrong.
Actually, I'm an extrovert. People will easily speak.
Yes. You see, many sanguines are extroverted. Yeah. Melancholians are introverted. In this sense, I'm the kind of person who view life from the inside, right? For the extroverts, they view life from the outside. So they place value to things that are always visible.
Wow.
Right? So in short, what I'm trying to say is you will be able to identify a sanguine, who is depressed faster than the introverted type. Reason, the introverted, even in their normal nature, you'll crack jokes and they'll not laugh. Because according to them, that's not funny enough, isn't it? that's how they are. So even when they are dealing with problems, they are the kind of people who keep on holding. Not that they have an issue, but they are the kind of people who are a bit articulate in terms of, okay, I have something that is bothering me, or I have good news, but does it matter even if I share with Kesh? Isn't it? Does it matter even if I share with anyone? it's my own achievement, it's my own beauty, it's my own happiness. So I will just keep it low. So even when they are dealing with depressive situations, most of them tend to be passed in a very big way because they don't tend to bring out their personality in the open. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Do children go through depression?
They go through depression. The only challenge that we have, I and you and the society at large, is that we still look at children as objects. In this sense, we don't believe that a child should be experiencing depressive phases. But the question is, this is a child with a mind. They have a heart. They have feelings. They have emotions. So how do you expect this child to be angry and not echo it out? So they go through pain. They go through depression. They go through suicidal ideations, which is actually part of the symptoms that you deal with in when you're dealing with a depressed person or you're dealing with a depression case. But when it happens, it shocks the world that a child committed suicide. How? Was there no one to see that the child was depressed? Right? In the world that we are living today, you realize that it's a fast-moving world, right? Very fast-moving. Both parents and children are all in their own space. Unfortunately, we have the mobile phones that are keeping us busy. Basically, you realize in every homestead, a child as young as 2 years has a mobile phone. So when you ask that child, if you ask that parent, why does this child have a phone? Of course, they also don't know, but that phone will keep them busy. So there are some of the things that would have been observed if these kids did not have the distractions, but because of now the additions that we are placing in our homes, kids have the PlayStations to play. We are actually buying from PS4 to PS5 to 6. We are upgrading with every season. So you will never know when this child is in need. Because according to us, we think what we are providing for, maybe, for instance, it's about the money. I've had cases of whereby children have no relationship with parents. Maybe the parents are ever busy. And these kids are now keeping themselves busy. The person who is actually the immediate parent is the house manager, or what we call the house manager, the house girl, is the one who knows the immediate needs of the kids. So if this child is going through pain, they will numb it through playing the PlayStation. Okay? They will also numb others. That's why you'd find cases of children as young as 5-6 years watching pornography. Reason, they are finding a way to try and filter it out. Okay? So, but for us, the parents, I think we are too busy with life and we cannot be able even to pick and understand, okay, my child is going through this, my child is going through this. So in accepting or possibly in answering your question, yes, children go through depression, and in some instances, children might even get so severe more than even adults. Reason, a child does not know what we call coping mechanisms. An adult may do. May actually get a coping mechanism. Somebody may be going through a depressive phase, an adult, and they choose to distract their mind maybe by one. You can be dealing with a depressive situation, and possibly you choose to what you call scatter your mind by you can decide to go play. People can decide to play games, like maybe somebody decides to now enroll in playing golf, going back to school, doing hobby activities, in trying to manage the situation. For a child, it's difficult because their living is very limited. And then number two, their living also dependent on what the parent also provides. So you'll have many cases of depressed children. You'll have cases whereby parents don't see the need for children to see a counselor. And actually those are the greatest effects. Those are very many. You have very, very many cases right now whereby you talk to a parent and you say, don't you know your child needs counseling? And they're like, oh, really? I didn't know my child needed counseling. But possibly for them, they've already done 5-6 sessions because they believe I have a problem with my husband, so it is me and my husband. So where are the children left? The children are left to cater for their own, to fend for themselves. If you find a child crying right now and they tell you I'm depressed, you'll be like, what has caused you the depression. Are you getting what I'm saying? So it gets to a place whereby the children are neglected by the fact that we feel, this is too young to feel what is happening. Yes. So we shouldn't ignore that.
Amazing.
Yes.
You've heard about the case in Kerucho, I believe, of this specific child. Actually, what I just said earlier, this specific child that killed himself because of academic pressure from the parents.
Yes.
What can you conclude about this matter?
I being a parent, I know that we always want the best of our children. And where we are is that we are still coming from the same setup of what was engraved earlier in our lives, that for you to be successful, you must be a performer in school, isn't it? So right now, the irony about life is that among the people that are doing so well in life right now are not the people who went through the same kind of education that we are pursuing, right? There are organizations that, fine, to rise from one place, from one position to the other in an organization, you'll need the education. But there are so many other aspects in life that can also generate money and give you a career without actually doing the academic appraisal. So what I would think in such a case, it's more about compensation. In terms of, this is a parent who believes that for my child to have a good life, the best thing that I'll give you is an investment in education. But really, there is one fear. When you're doing the investment to this child or for this child, you never get to ask them, like what we do in community development. You get to a place whereby you ask the people, what do you need? We usually see people coming and drilling boreholes, others coming and doing tarmacs, and then they go and place it on the media and tell people, oh, I went to a certain area and niliwawekea lami, niliwawekea stima. Did you get to know whether that's what the people needed? You did not know. So basically, the same also applies to the children, whereby parents are in their own minds creating the assumption that what my child needs is a good education. What my child needs is I move them from this school that is not performing well, I take them to another school that is performing well. But you see, the well-being of the child is not being taken care of. First, if you are able to understand what the child needs, you're not saying that the child to rule over you, but you are saying engage the child because he or she is also a stakeholder in their own lives. So getting to understand the performance is just but one of a channel of success. There are many other channels, right? Whereby right now the government is actually embracing the TVET institutions. A few years back, the TVET was not, the technical and vocational institutions were not of high value as they are today. Right now, I've actually seen that the government is even financing the people who are going to go to those TVET institutions and be given some funding, like the way the Higher Education Laws Board does for the universities. So it means if this parent had been sensitized enough, they would not have pushed their child to his death. Reason, they would have been able to appreciate the fact that he can be good in another sphere. It's not necessarily that they push this child to perform and perfect. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
I think when we come back, we'll have the opportunity given to Daniel to look at the camera and address a parent watching at home. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after the break.
Uwezo College is a premier business and technical training college based in Machakos County. All our courses are at professional level. Our exams are set by Kenya National Examination Council, NEC, and the National Industrial Training Authority, NITA. We offer the following courses:
electrical engineering,
plumbing,
cosmetology,
masonry and building,
social work,
and ICT. We also offer 3-month refresher courses.
We have qualified teachers who are up to the task.
To enroll today, call 0724 39 03 22.
To enroll today, you can call 0724 390 322.
Uwezo College.
Uwezo College, beyond training.
found somebody who cares. When I found you,
marriage is legally, socially, and religious union, usually between a man and a woman, that is regulated by laws, rules, customs, beliefs, and attitudes that prescribe the rights and duties of the partners and accord status to the offspring. Our objective is to address issues that married couples face and help solve conflict, and also provide information to rebuild the broken walls. Join me, Ruth Gerard, every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on Prolific Marriage, here at Nisi Television, the House of Rest.
my fears fly away like a dove. When I found you, I found love.
We are the super kids. We are the super kids. Jesus gonna have now. We gonna rock the world now. We are the super kids. We are the super kids. Jesus gonna have now. We gonna rock the world now. You make my heart pumping. You keep my feet jumping. You make me go crazy. You make me go crazy. You push my.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of cases in the society of people murdering their spouses and their children? What about human beings throwing themselves off buildings? In our universities today, it's a den of crime. Students in drugs, students in habits like homosexuality, which also cuts across in our society today. What do you think? Is there anyone to blame? Do you think it's a major issue in our society? Welcome to the DIVULGE Show, a show whereby we unmask matters happening in the society, matters which the society shies away from speaking about. And this is a place where we'll journey with you as an individual and largely in the society to find the healing of the soul and the empowerment of the spirit. My name is Kesh Susan, and I will be your host every Tuesday from 9:30 to 11:30 here at Nisi Television, where we transform life through media. Welcome to the DIVULGE Show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And before we went for the good break, I promised that when we get back, Mr. Daniel here will address the parents and, tell us, because to Mr. here, we need to be, parents need to be in the children's life, participate fully and get to know if the children are numbing pain. I think I never put a new any word, or actually they are really, healthy mentally, emotionally, and all that. Yeah, what can you tell the parents? Look at this camera and kindly address them.
Okay, what I would want to tell the parents,
Yes.
And anyone else who's watching me, I would want to remind them that children are not objects. Children are human beings. It's only that they are small in size,
Yes.
but they have emotions. They also go through pain, and many a times they will not be able to come and face the parents and tell them on the face what they are dealing with.
Yeah.
So it will only be important for parents to get into a place of understanding that the children are going through a phase of their life.
Yeah.
It is either a break or make in terms of what is engraved to them. Mannerism is learnt in young age, and the traumas also, the childhood traumas affect how a child will eventually be. So as parents, we should be very careful not to put pain in the children,
Yeah.
and then later in life start wondering whatever happened to them. Because if they grow up in that pain, it will manifest itself in old age in form of childhood trauma. So it's important to understand that as we are seeking counseling, as we are seeking mental stability, and as we are looking towards ensuring that we are all rounded in terms of our physical health is okay and our mental health is fine, please let's not leave the children behind. Let's seek counseling for children. Let's give them an opportunity to go out and talk about what they are dealing with and be able to fix them.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Mohar anasema, we always say he or she is so stressed, not knowing that the person is depressed. So we add the so thing, the so stressed, not knowing that the person is depressed. And Moha is saying, thank you thank you, Dr. Daniel. He's learning. We have Bro Samika Kafugi. He's saying points clear, are done. Saying keep it up. Then Sami again saying, actually some people think that when you go to see a counselor you are mad. Sami again saying, I'm loving the discussion. Mental health is health. Mental health is health. Big up Sami. David anasema T-Rike or yeah. Chinese will make a T-Rike. But then inbox will be correct. Anasema following Tirike, my producer and correct. Nimeanza kusema kama mtu ako nation nyingine. It's Kenya, right? Tirike. Anasema following, and it's very profound teaching. Big up David. We have Susan Kiriro, anasema great. Dan Wakaris, so very informative. Anakaina nyumbani. Then we have Awa Kosangi. Yeah, we have Caroline Mushiri anasema watching, very informative. Then we have thank you Sheila. We've seen your text, and then we have one that I really have to read. And Kafugi Bado anasema the show is interesting and he's loving the conversation. Thank you, Kafugi, for tuning in. Then we have someone asking, I do have constant headaches, and whenever I take medicine, it doesn't change. Could that be stress?
Okay, it's important to address it. Yes, stress manifests itself in various forms.
Yes,
which actually might be picking a few things that leads to depression.
Yes,
constant headaches, which actually can also be called migraines.
Yes.
Are a sign of stress in its own. So but basically what they need to explain more is at what point do they have those constant migraines, or when do they have those constant headaches? Because if it's something that just happens, then I think that's something that it's worth to be checked by a physician.
Yes.
But if it's something that happens, possibly you're going through a tough situation in terms of maybe you're trying to it's about arranging and rearranging things in your mind. And you realize that how much can you take in terms of, I earlier said about what we are dealing with. Dealing with school fees, we're dealing with new fuel prices, dealing with the new prices in foodstuffs, elections that are just about to happen, business instability, jobs insecurity. If you allow your mind to grab all that, automatically you'll have those migraines. So the only way is to be able to seek help. One, by addressing what the migraines are through seeking the help from a physician. And number two, possibly if they were able to give us a narration of maybe what they might be dealing with, we can easily be able to identify how to go about it. But yes, please don't just assume that it's normal, because initially what happens, we are so fond of using the painkillers, and now you realize that today you'll be taking two Panadols or two Maramojas. Then what will happen next month? You'll realize that the two Panadols are no longer serving you the purpose. Correct. So you increase it to 4. So if you want to increase the number again, you realize that again the 4 in number will not be helpful. So basically what you go is now look for those muscle relaxers, like in a Tylenol and I don't know whether we have Tylenol around. They have Tylenol. We also have Zulu, Zytol. They are very powerful MRs, and you see those are dawas or the prescriptions that you can get them over the counter, actually even without a prescription. But what are the kind of the side effects that these drugs will cause on you? So it's important for someone not to just ignore. Yes, having constant headaches is not normal. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Why is depression more prevalent among women than men?
Studies indicate that women tend to exhibit their frustrations internally, when men do exhibit theirs externally.
Okay.
Number two.
What does that mean?
It means that women hold things to heart. Okay. Unlike men, and that's why we always talk about men being the easy type in terms of handling emotions, in terms of handling issues. Men are considered to be easygoers more than women. But now, also the genetic setup of men and women is that women have a lot to deal with, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking about depression manifesting in hormones, okay, through the hormonal imbalances.
Correct.
Men don't experience what women deal with, right? They'll get to a place where during what we call the premenstruation periods, women will go through a period of a certain kind of depression. During those after birth, the postpartum depression, men will not experience that.
Yeah.
Number two, there is also the element of men. I wouldn't call them being hardy, but it's usually said that men are, in a way, and men not being able to exhibit the emotions in the same way as women do. But the funny thing is, the numbers in death is that men's number is higher than women. Okay, because out of what women deal with, they also get to a place of being able to filter it in an easier way than men do. Women will go out well feeling stressed or feeling depressed, whatever word we use, and they'll come back home after a wedding feeling rejuvenated, isn't it? And so you will find that they have a better way of decluttering their mind through one talking, through association, okay, and through, as in, they know how to find the right person to connect with, through connections. For men, you'll find men walking, they are not easily trusting, okay? So you'll find men,
and then it looks
getting to a place,
kind of shameful for
a
man sitting down with another man saying, hey bro, I'm going through this.
Yes. So irrespective of what we are saying, that women, the prevalence in women is higher than men. And the cases in death cases are more in men than in women, because men don't easily reach out, women do. Despite the challenges that women are dealing with, they have a way of filtering more than men do. Yes.
You've brought in a very great jargon, decluttering. What does that mean, and why is it important?
To declutter means to face out, or to, that's another jargon. To remove, in terms of, I'm assuming, assuming a wardrobe that is full of stuff.
Correct.
How do you remove the unnecessary items from a wardrobe so that you may be left with what is necessary? You'll find people walking with a lot of, should I use the word trash? Okay?
Yeah.
Meaning hatred. Okay?
Yeah.
Someone actually might have done something wrong to you 10 years ago, but you're still holding to it. Something happened yesterday, and you're still holding to it. So you realize that you are holding on to so much, and there is no way that was taught in an express way that this is how you filter out what is necessary and what is not necessary. So you'll find you are having important aspects of your life, and you're also mixing them with what we call less important. So when you're talking about decluttering, we are talking about how do you filter out what is necessary, what is not necessary. So when I was talking about issues of decluttering, is for women being able to be in a position of being able to talk out and eliciting emotions. Whereas men keep holding, women can easily talk out. So if something that has hurt you, it's not the same extensity when you talk it out. So we'll be able to filter it out. That's the right word.
Amazing.
Yes.
And what is, you said it's postpartum.
Yes.
Postpartum depression.
Yes.
You mentioned you mentioned the name earlier on in our conversation. What does that mean?
This is a kind of depression. It falls in the categories of depression.
Yeah.
Whereby it is the kind of depression that is experienced by ladies or women after giving birth. It is a period, or it is a kind of depression that is experienced in a short stint. Although in actual case, it can also degenerate into actual depression, what we call a major depression, which is actually called clinical depression, if not checked. So out of the hormonal changes and out of the period of the pains of delivery and everything, and out of the hormonal changes, women experience such. So it is important to note, people usually talk about somebody giving birth, and then at some point they were looking a bit irritable. Some women seem to cry a lot, and seem to hold on to a lot of, maybe you talk and they misinterpret whatever you're saying. But actually the funny thing is that they usually say that how to overcome postpartum depression. One is by allowing, or possibly maybe even being in very close with the baby. Yes. So I would actually say that it's a type of depression that is prevalent with women after they have given birth. But it's overcome with time. Yes.
But it's not for all women, some.
Some do not experience in the same. Okay, I would say that it's not very clear on the extensity of how mild or how deep it is.
Yeah.
But it is not something that is generally accepted or is generally passed, that it's passed on. It's experienced by all women.
Yes.
It's not.
Amazing. We have awesome questions here. Someone is saying, hello panelists, can someone be stressed about eternal life? Fear of death? And then the person continues to say, what happens after death? Where we will go, and some things like that. Kindly help.
Okay. So you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a good question. When somebody asks whether they will be stressed about eternal life and death, I believe that's a Christian actually, who has read the Bible and is actually trying to internalize how life will be after death.
Yes.
We are living a life in phases.
Correct.
So what we do is that we are alive today, and we are all believers that there is life after death.
Yes.
So we cannot talk much about what will happen after, other than what the Bible tells us.
Yes.
But basically, it's not worth stressing. And even if it gets to a place of stressing, possibly what we need to ask, and what this person needs to ask themselves, is what kind of life are they leading today? So that in case they happen to die, how will you convert over into the new world? In terms of, are you a sinner? Are you a Christian? Are you practicing the institutes of Christianity?
Yes.
Are you a firm believer, or are you an action Christian? Or are you a seasonal kind of Christian? So basically, if one is stressing about that, we can only think of stressing in terms of the kind of life that one person is leading. So that if they are leading a questionable life, I want to use the word questionable, because I believe that is the right word for now. Questionable in the sense that there is what the Bible ascribes to the kind of holy living. If you are leading a questionable life, how prepared are you that in case you die today, you will see eternity? That's a kind of question that we need to ask. Yes. But in terms of how will you die, will there be life after death? We are all sojourners. We are possibly going to get there one day, and we cannot be able to answer much about that. Yes.
I believe you only need to, as you said, live right.
Yes.
And then believe in your heart to confess Jesus Christ as Lord.
Exactly.
Because that's what the Bible tells us to do, and by that
Yeah.
You'll be able to receive salvation, and by that, you are guaranteed of the afterlife that you're talking about. Someone else is saying, I'm a recent mother and I feel stressed up due to the newborn baby being woken up at night by the baby at short intervals. Yet my job is so tiring and demanding. I need some good sleep to be able to work efficiently the following day. Nowadays, I can't even feel excited to go to bed. How do you help this kind of person?
The first thing I would want to ask is, she can possibly tell us whether they have a helper.
Of course, she doesn't have it.
She doesn't have a helper. Basically, what she needs to understand is children at times may give newborn parents the stresses in terms of the adjustment, in terms of the sleeping patterns. So a child may sleep during the day and remain awake during the night. In such situations, all they need to do is try and adopt a sleeping pattern for that child by possibly now trying to tune them to sleep during the night. It may not be done automatically, but it's done through practice. They can be able to do that. I don't want to say that possibly this person is dealing with what we call postpartum depression, but yes, there's some mild element of it, whereby they are easily irritable, on high alert, but that one is something that will phase out with time. So, because initially at the end of the day, you don't want to have the baby sleep while suckling, right? Because if they sleep while suckling, there's also the danger of maybe choking, isn't it? So you want this parent to learn how to give or to nurture the child into this world. Remember, this child is new in the world, isn't it? So they are at a place whereby they are also trying to adopt to the new environment. So it's not automatic that this child should come and adopt on the go. So they'll go through a learning process. They'll be taken through a learning process. She only needs to be patient with the child. And the other thing that the parent also needs to confirm is whether the child might also be having a challenge, possibly maybe a challenge that needs to be seen by a physician. Yeah, it's important. Yes.
Amazing. Someone else is saying, hello, I am Sharon. Kindly repeat on the issue to do with headaches. I am a victim and I haven't got it clearly.
Okay. About the headaches, I said, and I mentioned and I said that persistent headaches are what we call the migraines. It is a sign of stress, undefined stress. So, but now what I was asking is, what we need is to understand at what point do these migraines or these headaches happen. Is it that it's something that is consistently there, or is it that it happens when this person is going through some challenges or maybe some kind of consistent thoughts? If it's consistently there, this person needs to see a physician, right? If it is during the situations of maybe if it is a situational headache, whereby somebody is having the headaches when they are having, maybe you are feeling stressed, feeling pressured, feeling to be under sign of kind of duress or something, then this is a sign of stress. So we need to understand what are the situations that are leading to this headache, in terms of this is a stressful situation whereby now stress is manifesting itself in the headache. Stress might manifest itself in headaches, those are which are the migraines. It might manifest itself in losing sleep. It might cause bowel movement, whereby you're feeling like your stomach is rumbling, bloatation. It can also be a sign of stress. So that is one of them, the headaches. So this person needs to be keen on at what point do they get those migraines. Is it something that is consistent or constant, or is it something that happens when they are under stress or under some pressure? Yes.
Amazing. And then I think we have the final one. Someone is saying this is a funny one, but allow me to ask. I have not had a man in my life, intimate to be precise. Now I am dating, planning to get married, but the thought of first serial intercourse scares me so much. I hear stories from my friends and I feel stressed and depressed that I will disappoint my man during the first month.
How can you help this kind of person?
That's a very personal question indeed, and possibly that's the reason that they are saying that it's funny. Yeah. I don't know, or we do not know the kind of setup that this person is in, so we are not in a good place to judge in terms of at what particular time they are giving out their bodies, in terms of whether it's in marriage or whether it's in a relationship. Yes. But basically, in such a setup, it's always important to discuss their fears with their partner. Yeah. That way it lowers the expectation of the other person. In case this person has high expectations, and then also in case she has low expectations, they will be able to be on the same place with the partner, whoever they are discussing with, or whoever she's dating, or whoever she's going out with. And as I said, I do not want to get into the place of wanting to ask at what stage in her life is she in, because that one is neither here nor there. Yes. But the most important thing is talk to your partner, let them know your fears, let them know your expectations, and let them know whatever you expect out of whatever will happen. Yes. Basically, that's how I would answer it. Yes.
Amazing. Yes. I believe we have some two more. Let me get them. Yes. I believe as I have my producer give them to me, let me ask, how do you deal, or how someone who has gone through abuse, whether verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, how can this person overcome that from a psychological therapeutic angle?
Abuse engraves some, would I call some maybe I call that if abuse happens to you, whether physical, whether verbal, whether sexual, yes, it leaves a mark in your life, yes, which is actually a traumatic response. Yes. So basically, what is necessary for a person is to go through counseling, so that they may be able to overcome the trauma of whatever they ever endured. Yes, yes. But unfortunately, many people don't do it. They suppress it, only for it to come and maybe resurface later in life. Yes. Or blow it out. In every situation that happens with their life, they'll always be attaching the pain of the abuse, or the pain that they underwent. So basically, the right remedy is, one, seek help. Number two, talk about it. Right? Because many people have the fear and the shame of enduring the pain, or maybe by saying whatever happened to me was so shameful, I can never speak it out. So talking about it to the right people. Yes. That's, and in many cases, the people who are always advisable to talk to are counselor or therapist. Yes. People who are professional in whatever they are doing, so that you may not tell me your story, then you'll hear it with the next guest who comes to this studio. Yes, exactly.
Amazing. Someone is saying Degwa Anthony, and Salimia dance, and good to see you.
Thank you.
Someone you think you know.
Yes.
Gerald Lani and Sema. So does it mean sometimes one can be stressed, yet he or she doesn't know about stress?
Yes, it's very possible, because as we said, is that stress goes through phases. Yeah. So, and what happens is that until stress starts to manifest itself, you may not know how stressed you are.
Yeah, you may not know the magnitude.
Yes, you may never know how stressed you are in terms of the magnitude, the degree, exactly. So yes, we are all at some point stressed, but we are not able to manifest it because we are at a place of stability. Yes. So, and when stress becomes now a bother is when it exceeds our level of stability, in terms of I'm feeling stressed, or maybe something is stressing me, and it has now started causing a headache. Yeah. So that's the time I realize, hey, maybe something really stressing me. But you might be stressed. Actually, you might be driving to town, and you just get into traffic.
Yeah, that's stress.
That's stress. But does it affect you? No. It doesn't, because if you're not late, if you're not working, possibly if you're not going against time, and maybe if you're not missing an appointment, it will not be so stressful to the point that you get to a place of like, hey, this thing has really stressed me. So yes, it's possible to get stressed even without knowing. But now it's important to be informed, and that is where we are talking about the mental health awareness, in terms of being able to see what we call the highlight points in terms of I usually don't have headaches, I'm having headaches. I usually don't have challenges sleeping, I'm now getting some challenges sleeping. I usually don't have issues with my stomach, like feeling bloated, I'm now feeling bloated. So those are some of the signs that you need to look at and ask, what could be happening to me?
Yeah.
So that you may be able now to address your life in the right way. Because I believe we all know ourselves. Yes. We know how our sleeping patterns are.
Yeah.
So the moment you realize that your sleeping patterns are being altered, and you may be handling a project and you feel that whatever project you are dealing with is within your strengths and abilities, then it's a high time to realize maybe there are some things that I need to drop and there are some things that I need to reorganize. Yes.
Amazing. Someone else, Beatrice, listen to the conversation and learning a lot about depression, even the ones we took for granted. Handling children as human beings and not like objects has touched my heart. Thanks, Kesh. K-E-S-H. For letting Doc Dan talk about depression. You're welcome. Then we have my Moha saying, Miriam Karaoke anasema locked, great teacher, kudos. Then Moha anasema, what's stressing me is thinking what will happen to my kids if I die tomorrow. Hii kitu inanipea stress sana.
But it's, I can only tell Moha and tell him one thing. There's a term we allow people to know that bring up your children in a way that even if you die today, they will still survive. Empower the children. Right?
Yeah.
Invest in the children, not for them. Because basically one of the areas that people are failing today is that you want to accumulate as much for the children. When you die today, and the same children have not been taught the values of hard work. Teach the children the values. That even if you die today, your children can go anywhere in the world and survive. So there is no fear about what will happen because life belongs to God. So even if I'm leaving studio right now and I don't get home, it's not out of my fault. It's because God has seen it fit for me to depart. So there is no much in terms of fear, and those are some of the things that possibly are really stressful. Yet you realize that they are only stressful, but you cannot find a solution. Isn't it? If every person is asked how long they would want to live to remain alive, we would actually say 1 million. And the funny thing, would you even be given 1 million years? You'll still die with an unfulfilled promises, unfulfilled tasks, isn't it? So it's all about investing in children, give them the right environment to grow, and allow them to experience life as young as they are. I don't know how many years the kids are, but they are the kind of children that if they are given the right environment, they would have great morals, and those are the things that will take them through the world. That is basically what I can only tell Moha. Yes.
Amazing, ladies and gentlemen. It's so sad that we have to end this. Kiswahili wanasema wakati ama muda umeyoma, and I believe that we'll have great time, and of course a part 2 of this. Ukiangalia ile camera, can you give us your parting shot? Addressing someone that has been watching or someone that will watch this episode after a while.
Thank you. Viewers, it's been a good time that we have had a mental health talk. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We are at a place whereby we need to be more sensitized and more aware about ourselves, about our mental health, same as we are aware about our physical health. We would want to invite you into raising concerns and raising a need for mental awareness by visiting a counselor if you are able to. And counseling is not basically for the sick. It's important for me to raise that. Counseling is basically not for those people who are unable to control their lives. It is about people who are aware. Self-aware people seek help. If one would want to reach out to Daniel, I run an organization or a firm called Desired Living Counseling and Consultancy. I'm based in Garden Estate. I'll give out my number, and we also have a web page that you can be able to do the bookings online. The web page is www.desiredliving.org. If you log into that page, you will be able to get to a place whereby you can be able to make an inquiry. You can also send a chat via WhatsApp, which will be directly received and responded to by our team. Thank you.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I really, really appreciate each and everyone that has been able to tune in and everyone that will watch this show, this episode, on YouTube after these specific timings. I mean, may the Lord continue to increase you and bless you. And in case you are in a depressive situation, I believe that with the guidelines that Doc has given to us, you will be able to conquer that. And of course, you can always reach out to him and any other counselor that professionally trained. We've just said that the fact that you can walk in a counselor's office does not mean that you are mad. In fact, it means you're very sober and you love yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kesh Susan, the Divulge, here at Nisi Television. See you next Tuesday, same time, same place.
Welcome to Nisi Television. The house